High impact snow is starting to spread into the Northeast. We're watching that tonight. We're going to talk about that. We're going to look at some of the totals, and we're going to talk about the cold that's on the way. Multiple cold weather advisories, and there is a change that's on the way across the West. Some good news out here where we could definitely use some precipitation. All right, let's look at where the winter storm warnings have been expanded. We saw them for the last 24 hours here in the parts of PA, but now we're extending those down to Charleston, West Virginia, up into including Pittsburgh, where the snow is starting to fall tonight. The heaviest snow to me still looks to be just to the south of this region, down towards Morgantown, and especially here into the higher elevations of southern Pennsylvania into West Virginia. But winter storm warning still going for the snow that's falling from Cincinnati back to Columbus. These will wind down through the overnight across central Illinois, Indiana. But now we're looking to the east. This is new, something I want to show you and bring to your attention. Winter storm warnings now for Philadelphia. Up to Trenton, not quite here, but the greater Philadelphia area could see several inches of snow. Notice how all of this is skipping Scranton State College. You go down to Harrisburg, really east of Harrisburg, over towards Allentown, Baltimore, D.C. I think east of this area is where the heaviest snow is going to fall. We're going to look at that here in the video tonight, again, with these new winter storm warnings that have been issued through the evening products that came out. So, quite a bit of cold on the way, too, behind this system. Multiple cold weather advisories. I mean, look at this. When I pull this out, I'm going to look over here on the map and make sure I can catch it all on the screen. From the Canadian border all the way to the Gulf Coast, this, my friends, is a really strong blast of cold air that's dropping in behind this system. It doesn't look like it's going to last. There are some indications that once this goes through, we are going to warm back up. But again, multiple winter weather advisories extend beyond this winter storm warning all the way down to D.C., Baltimore, Dover, Atlantic City, the entire state of New Jersey under some type of warning or advisory tonight. And then out here, all the way out Long Island, right along the coast, including New York City, up to Bridgeport, New Haven, up to Waterbury. You get north of that up towards Bristol. No winter weather advisories for Hartford. That snow, though, right along the coast here into Rhode Island and then out to Cape Cod. Not quite up to Boston with the winter weather advisories at this point in time. Now, this isn't the only area we're worried about winter weather, I think, or concerned, I guess, is the case. But we have some winter storm warnings also into parts of the UP as lake effect starts to kick in. Winter weather advisories downwind of Lake Michigan. And winter storm warnings are transitioning now to lake effect snow warnings from Cleveland all the way up to Dunkirk, just south of Buffalo here, including Jamestown, and then downwind of Lake Ontario here into the Tug Hill Plateau where we're going to see some snow. One more thing, too, I want to note. Check this out. Out in the middle of the country here, we've got this random box of winter weather advisories. We were dealing with some freezing fog here into parts of eastern Colorado, southern Nebraska, also into Kansas tonight. Freezing fog could cause some big problems. Into the Pacific Northwest, too. More rain on the way. We've got flood watches already in effect with multiple flood warnings. Unfortunately, it looks like too much of a good thing here with more rain on the way. Let's talk about the snow as we move through the overnight, as we look at the updated numbers, too. Keep in mind, a lot of the snow across Ohio and Indiana is winding down. Now we're starting to look here in the mid-Atlantic heading into Sunday morning. I think there's going to be some type of heavy band that starts to get going here. That band will really dictate who sees 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of snow, maybe even more in some areas. Some of you may see just a couple of inches just because of the nature of how the snow is going to band out. And then behind this, that cold Arctic air rushes in. Here's some new numbers. These are the national blended model data. Again, a lot of this is already fallen back here into Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. But let's zoom into Pittsburgh just a little bit. Some higher numbers coming in this evening. These are numbers through 4 a.m., now pushing you close to 6.5 here into Pittsburgh. Those numbers starting to rise, too, as it continues to snow overnight into the early morning hours. So now we're starting to see some deeper purples show up here into southeast Pennsylvania. That means more than 6 inches of snow. And look at these numbers. A lot of 5s and 6s starting to dot the landscape compared to earlier today. Maybe just a few inches lighter. So new data says this looks a little bit heavier. And then again, into the mountains here into southeast Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, somebody I think is going to get 10, 12 inches of snow. And then once we get a little bit closer in, this right here is the digital forecast database. A little bit lower on the numbers. The new models are just a little bit stronger here. Let's get a little closer here into the Hudson Valley, up into Connecticut. That snow is going to be heavy. Look at Long Island. You're seeing this starting to show up on the blended model data, close to 6 inches at times in a few spots. Again, where these bands will set up, and they're going to probably set up like this you could have a line of 6-7 inches of snow and then go down the road again and just have a few inches. So I think that's going to be an issue with forecasting this, but you can see everything below this line more than 2 inches, and then embedded in this somewhere are some 4 to 6 inches, 6-inch totals, I should say. Again, this right here, guys, is the blended model data. I do want to pop over to the 3K NAM just for some comparison here. Very similar, although notice these holes that are showing up, right? And I think that's because you're getting the high resolution models picking up on how those bands might set up. But get under the right one and you could get 5-6 inches into New York. Okay, I'm just saying. At this point, winter weather advisory for a couple of inches anyway, and behind it, the cold is going to rush in with temperatures really dropping behind it. These are air temperatures heading into Sunday, so we'll barely get out of the teens and single digits. In some areas, may not get out of the single digits heading into Sunday afternoon across the Ohio Valley. Look at these numbers here. I'm looking at this going, this is Sunday afternoon. I need to back this up a little bit to make sure I'm reading this right. Okay, so yeah, Sunday afternoon highs across parts of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, down to Illinois are going to struggle to get above zero, and that cold air will continue to advect or move into the northeast. And then around our area of high pressure, there's that cold air swinging up into southern Michigan, single digits. Lake Michigan's not going to protect you from that cold. It's going to sneak in from the southwest. That's an interesting look there. And then milder temperatures on the way. It's going to take a little while. We'll see that as we head into Monday. So maybe we'll get a little bit warmer for a change, and maybe some of this snow will melt. Thanks for joining us in the live stream tonight. Many of you reporting some snow across Ohio. Interesting to see how this is overperforming some areas already reporting more than 6 inches. Again, this right here would be the blended model data on top of what you've already got. So maybe another let's see when this started, from 5 p.m. So whatever you've picked up since 5, add on to this, for example, Columbus and Cincinnati, maybe 2-3 inches of snow. Same thing up towards Cleveland, maybe another inch or two. So there is more snow on the way. Really interesting to see how this is starting to overperform as we look at the live stream tonight. It's one of the reasons I wanted to come on, because some of this is overperforming in parts of Ohio tonight. So maybe you do overperform a little bit tomorrow in New Jersey. So again, the NAM, this is the newest. It's showing a few purples, and you see a lot of 5s and 6s here. All right, let's watch this. All right, the snow is on the way. What are we going to do about it, though, right? High pressure building in across the central U.S. Cold, but we're warming up, though, as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. So much that we're talking about just liquid precipitation here. We're going to go pretty quickly here. If you missed the forecast earlier today, we went into more detail. We talked about the long range. I haven't done so yet, but I'll link to it in the video below. If you've not seen it, go back to the channel and you can subscribe. And I'm going to talk a little bit about in that video why I think winter is not done. Some said, of course it's not over. Well, people are already giving up on winter and hasn't even started. And we've got another cold blast coming in behind this warm up that we're going to see. It's not going to be as cold as what we're seeing right now, but chilly enough that we see snow behind this system, and now we're heading into the weekend. Again, I don't know what's going to happen here with this piece of energy. It's still out at sea. We've got a long way to go. The overnight run tried to develop some kind of storm. This afternoon's run is much more relaxed. Here's a look at your low temperature Sunday morning. We're going to get to 20 below across Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Maybe so. It's very chilly and cold, barely getting above zero in some areas. We may not even get above zero. And then heading into Monday and then into Tuesday, there comes the warmer air. But again, as I said, that cold is going to rush back in, at least into the northern plains and into the upper Midwest. But Texas and the South, no winter here. No signs of winter just yet. Let's go to the west, where the rain is going to be heavy again. Flood watch is already out here into Washington State. Snow levels will start to drop as some colder air starts to filter in here. Maybe we finally get some snow here into the Cascades. Possibly. Dare I say we get snow into the Sierra, maybe by the late part of the week. I don't know if we actually see much here heading into Wednesday. Some of that tries to move into the Wasatch and into the Colorado Rockies, but maybe another chance heading into next weekend. The pattern's starting to shift up, and that opens the door for some precipitation here across the west, especially into California, where we've not seen much this year. I don't want to say snowless, but a very big snow drought across the Sierra. And again, if you take a look at the European, it's trying to put some snow down here, some heavy snow at the highest peaks, and big time snow into the northern Rockies, also into the Cascades. Let's see if all that comes to pass. A long way to go before we get that going. Here's where we are tomorrow. Mild again for this time of year across the west. Temperatures I'd say that's pretty much above average. Let's take a real wide look at things before we go tonight. There goes your snow into the northeast. There comes your ridge across the west. It starts to slide east as we move into Monday and Tuesday. Your upper level pattern continues to bring that moisture into the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia with more wintry precipitation. Snow heavy at times into British Columbia, into the mountains of Alberta. Maybe some snow too, lifting across northern Alberta into northern Saskatchewan with this area of low pressure. It's pretty far to the north. It makes sense that it would go that way because with all your warm air pushing into southern Alberta and southern Saskatchewan, you're probably going to see some kind of low move here. Now, earlier, I think last night's run was a little bit further to the south. This afternoon's is just a touch north. And then once this swings by, we turn a little colder. And look, it stays so active across the Pacific Northwest as we head into Thursday and Friday. There comes that system that could bring a decent stripe of snow from Calgary over into southern Saskatchewan and Manitoba. It's too warm on the southern side of this in the U.S. We're talking about just rain, but on the Canadian side, a lot of wind. I mean, are we wrapping up a prairie blizzard here? Let me tell you something. That's a very interesting look here on the European from this afternoon. Across the east, follow the isobars, and you can follow the wind. That is a lot of warm air moving north out ahead of this trough that's swinging here into the west. So temperatures on the way up in this area, on the way down behind it as our next Arctic high tries to drop in. Let me show you the direction of these. They're going this way, right? What they're not doing is this. That's keeping it relatively mild across the southwest into Texas. So we're not getting a big push of cold, at least on the European from today. It's not indicating that. And then as we go out in time, let's push this into next weekend. It's an operational run. I think it's just worth looking at anyway. And we're not looking at any particular storm. I do believe after this point, I just want to see what the pattern is kind of looking like. If anything, what we're starting to see is this trough. Look at this, digging off the west coast a little bit, right? Can you see that? In response, you're getting a bit of a ridge across the central U.S. If anything, though, it's kind of flat. It's not really responding. There's some blocking happening up around Greenland. That's forcing your trough here into the northeast, and it's bringing the cold air in. All right, that doesn't look like a warm-up by Christmas to me, anyway. Look at that. Look at the date. It's an operational run. It's got snow in the northeast. And it's got that blocking up around Greenland, which, look, guys, this brings cold air into the northeast. It also, with this trough off the west, starts to bring some active weather into the west, but I don't know that it gets cold in Texas. That's what it looks like at this point to me. Still a long way to go before we get there, but what we are seeing across I think, the prairies of Canada, into the Northwest Territories region, into Alaska, up into northern Canada, it's a lot of cold air. There's plenty of cold air around this year. I think we've got one heck of a winter on the way. January could be really interesting. I don't know that we're there yet. We are very close to 40,000 subscribers. Maybe you could be the 40,000 subscriber. Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't even know how you would track that. But thanks to the thousands of you who've subscribed over the last couple of months and even a couple of weeks, thousands just over the last 2 weeks have joined the channel. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification, come back. Thanks for all of you who've been supporting me here on the channel and watching. See you next time.